Hi, welcome to the Valentine's Tea. Today we're going to talk about Valentine's Day. Seems like a simple subject, but I've found throughout life that often it's not. This seems to be a holiday that brings out the most expectations sometimes, the highest disappointments. It can be an angst-filled holiday, so today we're going to talk about that. I tried to make things pretty today. I'm wearing my earrings that I wore the day I got married. Never say I'm not sentimental. Here's a cup that one of my aunts gave me years ago. It's got beautiful little roses all over it. I don't usually use fussy teacups like this, but hey, we're talking about Valentine's Day here. I'm also using a blue tea. This is Numi's. Let me see if I can get this straight because I left the box upstairs. It's Numi's Rose, Lavender, and Pea Flower Tea, I think is the name of it. I'll link it in the description below if you're interested in it, but it's all natural and it smells floral and it tastes delicious. Let's have a little sip right now, shall we? Yes, it's a very calming tea. I would recommend for most people that you add either sugar or honey or stevia to this tea, but it is delicious. Okay, so let's get back to the topic at hand. Valentine's Day. What does it mean to you? Do you love it? Do you hate it? As I said before, expectations on a holiday like this can be terribly disappointed. And when it comes to romantic relationships, we all tend to have wants and needs, and it tends to be a very vulnerable place inside of us that's touched by these relationships. I was one of those people for years, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but also how I came to peace with this holiday. I have kind of grown to love it throughout the years, whereas for many years, it was an upsetting time for me. I mean, just deep down inside, I would start to feel dread days before the holiday came, and the entire day I would be depressed and not want to talk to anybody. But I have even gotten used to that, and even sometimes after I got married, I felt this way. And so I think it's something that's worth talking about. For all of you people out there who love Valentine's Day, you always have. A lot of you may be romance readers. I say blessings to you. I think it's wonderful that you feel that way. I think it's wonderful that close relationships mean so much to you and that you get the warm and fuzzies and you don't have complicated relationships with love and romance and sex and all those sorts of things. But not everybody's that fortunate. So if you're one of those people, curl up with your pink and your red, and I hope you have a day filled with chocolate and rose-scented bubble bath and champagne and that the day meets all your wildest expectations. But if you're one of the others who falls on the other end of the spectrum, let's have a discussion. When I was very young, I really loved Valentine's Day. In first grade was the first time it was ever really celebrated as far as my life was concerned. It was just amazing to me that we went to school that day and there were hearts everywhere, which, you know, the hearts didn't mean that much to me, although I do love the color red. But everybody in the class had to give everybody else a Valentine, and I was so excited to get so many Valentines. It was just such an exciting thing. We got one from the teacher. It was wonderful. And that happened again in second grade, and it happened again in third grade, and it was just amazing. And then in fourth grade, it all came crashing down. After fourth grade, I don't know how it is in every school division, and I don't know how it is these days, but after fourth grade, you were on your own with Valentine's Day. And so I took Valentine's to everybody because I was excited and I remembered what we did before. But I found out that, you know, not everybody was going to reciprocate. And actually, I got very few Valentines that year. I may have got 3 or 4. One of my best friends, who also happened to be my next door neighbor at the time, got on the school bus that afternoon and showed me handfuls of Valentines that she had gotten, mostly from boys, but a few from girls. I hadn't gotten any from boys. I had gotten a few from very close girlfriends. So I thought, that was the first time I really thought to myself, maybe maybe people don't like me. It just, I thought, was there a reason why people didn't give me Valentines? I gave them to everybody. So that was my first kind of bad experience with Valentine's Day. And after that, I kind of got used to it. I grew to realize that, not everybody was into it. And, some people just seem to attract all the attention on Valentine's Day. And that continued to be the way it was. So those were my experiences. In high school, I don't think I got a Valentine until my senior year. And that Valentine was unexpected. And after I got it and I was so excited, nothing happened. Everything completely fell flat in that relationship. So that was a huge disappointment to me too. And then when I taught high school, I found that a lot of my students would come in at the school I taught at. I didn't really have a choice over this because actually I'm allergic to florist flowers. They just choke me up. And they allowed at that school for people to send flowers and Valentine's Day presents in from florists or wherever. And the librarian had always collected those flowers and things and arrangements. And then at the end of the day, the librarian and the helpers delivered those around the school to whoever got them. And it quickly became obvious that some students, especially girls, would get lots and lots of bouquets and roses and candy and all kinds of things, and others would get absolutely nothing. And I had several kids, and it wasn't just girls, boys too would come in the mornings and tell me they hated Valentine's Day, and that was why they never got anything. They never got anything from anybody, not even their parents. So that kind of made me rethink making a big deal out of Valentine's Day as well. So I think it depends on the situation. I don't think there's anything wrong with a holiday, of course, but I do think that you need to kind of be aware of how other people might feel about things sometimes. So it's got me thinking, just as I was going over what to talk about in this video, what is love really? I mean, Valentine's Day tends to celebrate romantic love. I guess that's kind of the purpose of it, but does it have to be? I mean, people do give Valentines to their children. They give Valentines to their grandmothers. They give Valentines to all sorts of people just out of appreciation. Couldn't Valentine's Day for most of us just mean love? I mean, that's something that is attainable for all of us. We all have an opportunity to show love. We all have an opportunity to give love. And I'm not talking about buying an expensive meal out at a restaurant for somebody. I'm just talking about a little kindness, maybe a small note written on a scrap of paper. That could really mean the world to somebody. So if you have a romantic, I'm going to keep it short today, but if you have a romantic relationship to enjoy with somebody, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I remember a few years ago when Galentine's Day was a thing and ladies would get together and appreciate their friendships. And I think that's great. I don't know if people still do that a lot or not. I haven't heard much about it, but I do tend to be a little disconnected from the popular milieu. But I think a lot of it comes down to expectations. Sometimes you set yourself up for trouble when you do have high expectations for things, so it might be better to tamp it down and just, think the day's really not so much about what I get, the day is more about what I give. And you can give love to anybody that you come in contact with. You can leave a small Valentine for a postal worker. You can, or delivery people, you could give them something thoughtful like hand sanitizer or, some cookies or something like that. If you've got home health care people coming in, you could show your appreciation to them. Sometimes just a smile is a great thing. To compliment a grocery worker, someone who checks you out, compliment, what a good job they do and how much you appreciate how hard they work. Or even if you don't get out of the house at all, you can just think of people that you know and wish them well. Send them happy thoughts. Sometimes it's amazing how small things like that can really pick up your day and help you feel better. And then on top of that, there's also yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Maybe you should spend some time on Valentine's Day thinking about good things about you. Maybe you should watch a movie that you really love, or make yourself a meal. Make yourself your favorite meal. Wear something pretty. Do something that you really enjoy that you don't usually do. Maybe just try to think happy thoughts. Sometimes it's just the little things that really matter. And of course, there's always books that you can read. I'm going to talk about a few books that kind of mean Valentine's Day to me. This is very personal. A lot of people really like romance books, and if you do, go for it. Read romance books all day long if you want to, if that makes you happy. But for me, it's a little bit different. When I was in college, I first read Wuthering Heights. And I admit that I was really taken with that book. Excuse me. I mean, to me, it just seemed so romantic that Heathcliff was so taken with Catherine. But, you know, once I've gotten older and I've gone back and read that book again and thought about it, that was not a romantic relationship. That was an obsessive relationship, and it was really unhealthy. So also Madame Bovary, you know, sometimes people think of Madame Bovary as romantic. Not really. It's not really a romantic story at all. It's in a way kind of a horrifying story. So if you like those books, great. I mean, you know, they are psychological studies and they do have value. Wuthering Heights is still one of my favorite books, but it is not a romantic book. Anna Karenina is another one. To me, the relationship between Anna and Vronsky is not romantic, but the relationship between Kitty and Levin really is. So, you know, that was another good one that I enjoyed. But love doesn't have to be about romantic relationships. And a lot of my favorite love stories are not really romantic. Little Women is my favorite book of all time. I don't think anything will ever dethrone Little Women for me. And it's very much a book about love. It's about love between sisters, and love between mothers and daughters, and love between friends. And, you know, some people like Laurie, the next door neighbor, Theodore, who has the nickname Laurie. To me, Laurie never was a very romantic character. You know, he had a crush on Joe, but Joe didn't have a crush back. And then he wound up marrying Amy, who he really was more well suited to. And that was a sweet story, but to me it doesn't sing of romance, but it's still love, you know. It's just, Little Women is beautiful. So I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. I don't care who you are. I think it's a great book. And then there's the children's book, Tale of, I think I'm saying this right, Despero. They made a movie out of it. I've never seen the movie, but when I read the book, I was in my mid to late 40s. And I stayed up almost all night to finish that book. I just thought it was just beautiful. It's about this little mouse that falls in love with this maiden. And it's been a long time since I've read it, so I don't remember the particulars, but I just remember the way it made me feel. That book felt like love to me. The same author wrote Because of Winn-Dixie, and that was another book that to me represents love. Okay, then there's also Gilead. I just finished that. Gilead by Mary Ann Robinson. It won a Pulitzer. And it's about a father who is a minister. And his father was a minister. And his grandfather was a minister. And he's getting ready to die. He realizes that he's probably going to die soon. And he has a son who is, I think, 6 years old. And he also has a godson. And it's about the fraught relationship between these fathers. His grandfather and his father had problems. He had some problems with his father. He's got problems, especially with his godson. But it's about what underneath all of that, there's a current of love. And I just think it is a beautiful book. Anne of Green Gables. If you've never read Anne of Green Gables, there you go again. It's about an orphan who is adopted by a lonely brother and sister. And it's just a beautiful story of how they come to love her. And the reason they love her is Anne is love. She's just everything she does, she's excited. She means well. She gets into trouble, but you know, it's her intentions. She always means the best, and it's just beautiful. If you're interested in the romantic things, I don't have a ton of romantic books that I really like. I have never read the books Poldark, but the PBS series, I liked the one back in the 70s. Actually, I was very taken with the one back in the 70s. But I also really like the one with Aidan Turner that came out, you know, just a few years back. I thought it was extremely well done. That was romantic. Eleanor and Park is a young adult book that I liked. I thought the relationship seemed authentic, and it was very sweet. Books about love can also be heartbreaking, though. You know, I think about The Kite Runner. You know, that's not a romantic book, but it is about love, and it devastated me. So sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need to feel those things too. We need to stretch our soul through our emotions, so to speak. Another set, and this is the last one I'm going to mention, Rachel Joyce, around 10 years ago or so, wrote a duet of books, The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry and The Love Song of Queenie Hennessy, which was the sequel to that. Those were beautiful books. They really touched me deep inside, and definitely about love. And if you haven't read those books and you're wanting to have the feels, I highly recommend them. So what am I currently reading? Okay, well, what I'm currently reading is not very romantic. I'm reading Robert Lowell, Setting the River on Fire, A Study of Genius, Mania, and Character by Kay Redfield Jamison. Kay Redfield Jamison is I think she's a psychiatrist, maybe a psychologist. She's doing a study. This book came out about 15 years ago. She's doing a study about him because she's studying the connection between genius. You know, Robert Lowell was one of the greatest 20th century poets. He also had bipolar disorder, and he had a severe case of bipolar disorder. So I'm about halfway through with that. And right now she has gone through his family history. Manic depressive disorder, as they used to call it, ran as far back as his family tree went. That, you know, they always knew that there were problems with this. So they know it's genetic. And then she's gone through to the point that I've gotten through. She's talked about his particular illness and how it affected him. And I think what she gets into in the second half of the book is what the illness actually does in your brain, and the connection between that and giftedness, because, you know, they think Virginia Woolf likely had bipolar disorder, and she was definitely a genius, and her writing was definitely connected to that. And then you've got people like Van Gogh. So what is the connection between mental illness and creativity? I just think that's fascinating. So I'll let you know, hopefully by next week I'll have it finished, and I'll let you know what I think. And as far as fiction goes, I like to read fiction at night right before I go to bed. I'm reading Forbidden Journeys, Fairy Tales and Fantasies by Victorian Women Writers, which is edited by Nina Arbach and U.C. Noffelmacher. I think I pronounced that right. This is one of the books from the University of Chicago Press, so it's kind of a scholarly study of these stories, but they're how women in the Victorian era retold fairy tales and wrote fantasies. So it's been a fun book to read. Maybe a quarter of the way through that one. It might take me a little while to get through that one, but I'm enjoying it. So that's all I have to say today. I wish you a happy Valentine's Day. I wish you love, and I wish you joy. We all are going through tough times right now, I think, in the whole world. I think people are going through tough times. Let's think about each other. Let's try to lift one another up and think about what love really means. So that's all for today.